What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on all the latest football news and analysis. I'm Baden.
And I'm Hank. Today, we're going to talk about some results from the NFL Combine, some free agency that's going on right now, and maybe even look ahead to the draft a little bit. It's that time of year. It's the off season.
Oh, yeah.
We're past the month of nothing, and we are into the month of some behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. This stuff's really fun. During the season, you see which team is the best. Off-season is when you see which team can become the best.
Mm-hmm.
You see all the moving pieces, the mock drafts, all the free agency signings, franchise tags, and even the trades. This has been an off-season of quite a few trades already. We'll get to that at some point. But let's kick it off with talking about the Combine a little bit. Talk about some risers and some fallers. And yeah, there were some Combine warriors this year. No Xavier Worthy like there was last year, just with breaking the record on probably the most famous exercise in the Combine. But we had some Combine warriors here, and I think the best one of them all might have been Shamar Stewart, who physically is Myles Garrett. Obviously, you can't look at someone going into the draft as this is the next Myles Garrett. Yeah. But of anyone, Shamar Stewart has the best chance, I think, right now. What do you think, Baden?
Yeah. Looking at the draft, I think watching, that's definitely like you're saying. Like the big thing that I watched was the 40.
Mm-hmm.
And, we didn't see any Xavier Worthy, but like you're saying, to say somebody is the next Myles Garrett before they even get into the NFL, that's a big call. But right now is the time to be making those calls. That's what the offseason is for, is throwing out some big hot takes, throw out some surprises, see if you can land anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I can get behind that.
Yeah, 100%. If people are comparing Abdul Carter to Micah Parsons, you got Penn State to Penn State, I think it's only fair to compare Shamar Stewart to Myles Garrett. You got A&M to A&M. It's going to be fun to watch. His draft stock is rising. I mean, he's probably made himself a top 10 pick, and probably the best edge rusher in the class right now. As for wide receivers, as you said, we didn't have Xavier Worthy, but another Texas receiver, we had Matthew Golden, 4.29, fastest receiver in this class, in this Combine, and his draft stock is rising a lot. Right now, consensus number one receiver is, the Heisman winner, Travis Hunter. But Matthew Golden is making a name for himself. It's maybe the number two, maybe even number one. Some people don't like Travis Hunter's draft stock right now. I think Matthew Golden is catapulting himself into early first round. What do you think with about the receiver race right now, Baden?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I just think it's Texas is I don't know if slept on, because they're in there, but they're a wide receiver university.
Mm-hmm.
You have Xavier Worthy, of course, last year, and then this Combine you have Matthew Golden, comes out and runs a 4.2, and then although pride comes before the fall,
exactly.
We had a Texas receiver say he was going to go 4.20, and went 4.4, but 4.4 is not slow.
No.
Especially at the size of Isaiah Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Bond ran 4.41 and then I think 4.40.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not slow. And so from the receiver line, Texas is looking like it's putting its name in there for wide receiver university. And so, yeah, I think that was pretty impressive. But to run 4.29, I think it's funny how much the 40 boosts your draft stock.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And so, yeah, I think that's what you got to do, especially as a receiver. That's something you have to focus on, is that speed. And look at Xavier Worthy. He shows that speed. First couple of games we see him with the Chiefs, he's a deep threat. They're throwing just bombs to him. So that looks good for the draft stock of of Matthew Golden, that's a big boost, and that's what you need is that speed. That's what people are going to look for. And so, of course, I understand definitely Travis Hunter still being number one. He's proven himself, Heisman winner, but Matthew Golden put himself in a very good position to be drafted highly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously you have other guys, Tetro McMillan and Luther Burton, who are both good receivers, but there isn't any receiver in this class that's, like a Jamar Chase.
No.
Who they're going to be the star receiver coming into the NFL. No prospect is quite like that this year. The wide receiver class isn't as top heavy as it has been in recent years, but we have good prospects coming in, and we'll see what happens with this wide receiver race. Matthew Golden is definitely making a name for himself with that 4.29.
Absolutely. You'd think that puts him at number 2 on the wide receiver rankings?
I think it at least puts him at 2. If teams really like him and who aren't high enough on Travis Hunter, I could see him going at 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if he'll rise that much because he was valued at late first round, second round, somewhere in there before the combine. So obviously you're going to rise a lot, but I'm not sure if he'll rise that much. Yeah. And he could still be 3 or 4. Luther Burden and Tetro McMillan are still great prospects, even though they didn't run, a 40-yard dash as fast as Matthew Golden did. Because as we've seen, on-the-field speed can be very different than 40 speed. Cooper Kupp, who isn't a fast receiver, that's not what he's known for, but he ran like a 4.6.
Yeah.
And, hey, no one's complaining about that now.
Clearly it's worked out for him.
Yeah, I think so, just a little bit. But, yeah, as you said, with Texas being wide receiver U, or a wide receiver U, obviously you have LSU and Ohio State, I think, are 1 and 2, but Texas is up there.
It's working its way up.
Yeah,
I definitely think right now you can put him at a good 3.
They're one of those teams that always seem to be carried by wide receivers. LSU is sometimes that way, but you get to the NFL and it's like, oh, Joe Burrow is that guy. Jaden Daniels is that guy. Yeah. So it's not just the wide receivers. Absolutely. Ohio State, up or down. We'll wait and see with Justin Fields. We'll talk about that later too. And C.J. Stroud, if he can come back to his rookie form, if it really is just a wide receiver team, or if they have those star quarterbacks too. But as we've seen with Texas guys like Quinn Ewers, I think this is a wide receiver run offense. Without those guys, and we saw it without Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell, what Quinn Ewers did this year wasn't all too impressive.
Yeah.
A few fallers in the draft. There wasn't anyone who whose fall was quite as dramatic as the rise of Matthew Golden and Shamar Stewart. But there were some guys that didn't really look all that great. Will Howard athletically wasn't terrible, but his throwing wasn't very good.
He was not on. He's not dialed.
Yeah, definitely. He was on a high note coming out of the playoffs with, a surprising playoff win, national championship victory, but definitely did not help his draft stock. Someone who didn't even participate in the combine, or most of the combine, Shedeur Sanders, is really hit or miss right now. Yeah. My guess is he'll still go top 10 because he's falling right now. When you look at his draft prospect, his draft stock overall, but I think as a pro day, he will remind people that he is a good athlete.
Absolutely.
He's not. I think Cam Ward has solidified himself at number 1. I don't think Shedeur can take that back, but I do think that Shedeur will kind of rise again a little bit. I don't think Jackson Dart will overtake Shedeur Sanders. I think he'll go later in the top 10. But we'll talk more about where I see these quarterbacks going later in this draft.
Yeah, I think Shedeur, I think a big thing that I think could be causing his stock to lower is some, I don't want to say personality. I don't want to say that. But I've seen plenty of stories just talking about how at the combine as he was there and different things, I think scouts are seeing a little bit of pride and a little bit of, I'll say attitudes that would be difficult for team chemistry. to build up that team chemistry. But then again, we kind of saw that with Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And although it didn't turn out as well as I think a lot of people thought, it turned out okay with the Bears. I mean, they're still building on that program. It's not like he was, pushed out or ostracized by his team. He was still able to build up and build that chemistry. So that isn't everything, but I do think that there's some scouts have seen some pride and some attitude that doesn't look like it encourages team chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, like you're saying, like he'll have his pro day, and he's still going to be drafted highly because he is an athlete. He's a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully once he gets on a team, that chemistry will be there. He'll be able to build that trust and that leadership that you need from a quarterback. But that's just something that I've noticed.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely he's not quite like Caleb Williams was, but he's definitely along those lines more than Cam Ward or a lot of the other quarterbacks in this class. Some wide receivers who did not have the best combine. Tez Johnson weighs 154 pounds, which is very small for the NFL.
Very small.
Very, very small.
I mean, Tank Dell, one of the smallest receivers, is 160, I think. 163, 165.
Yeah. And so he would be, I think, the smallest player in the NFL if he gets drafted, which he'll probably still get drafted. But 154 pounds, even in today's NFL, is just not something you really want to see. Of course, there's something you can work on and change some, but that's obviously not going to help him. And then San Diego State. Nope, I was right first. San Jose State. I had the logos mixed up in my mind. All that college basketball. Nick Nash, who won the Triple Crown, but he was one of the slowest receivers in this combine, and he had one of the shortest verticals, and he had some of the smallest hands. Obviously, this was only his first year as playing wide receiver, having played quarterback for his first few years in college, but you just don't really like to see someone who is first in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and catches in a season in college, and then have almost a triple crown, or whatever the opposite of a crown is in the combine.
Yeah, the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The
triple L.
The triple L.
Yeah, something like that.
2 L's makes a W, but 3 L's.
Nothing you can do about that one.
Just a lot of L's.
I like that. So, yeah, those are two more guys who didn't help their draft stock. We'll finish with another quarterback, but I want to talk about Ollie Gordon for a second.
Sorry, I'm just looking at his notes, and I've been asking the same question to myself that we'll get to for so long. So there's a little sneak peek for y'all to enjoy in a second.
Then we got to talk about a running back who has made a name for himself and then did not make a name for himself. Because Ollie Gordon, a year ago, if you had told me, hey Hank, Ollie Gordon, he's going to be a first-round pick in the 2025 draft, I would be like, yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. He's one of the best running backs in college, the 2023 season, and I saw him having not quite Ashton Genty-like impact, because almost no one has that. But I saw him as being, a back almost like that, and carrying Oklahoma State even to the playoffs, if y'all remember me making that hot take. If you don't, well, I just reminded you. Whoops, sorry about that. But I don't even know where his stock's going to be. It's not going to be second round. It probably won't be day 2. There's a chance he goes round 6, round 7 right now. His combine isn't good. His Senior Bowl wasn't great, or whatever pro day. He just has not looked good this past year, and I don't know what's happened, because he was one of the best running backs in college, and now he's just not.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see if he can figure that out as he goes into the league or the UFL.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. He'll start in the NFL. Maybe he may be a UFL player in a few years if he continues at this rate. But not looking too good for Ollie Gordon.
And I think one thing that is hard to remember, especially because now that they're reaching their way to the NFL, this is their job.
Mm-hmm.
This is becoming, and even in college, I mean, truthfully, college sports is a job, especially when you get into Division I, especially football. But even with that, sometimes you have a bad day. Now, to have that bad day on the combine, there's a lot that goes into that. And so that's the worst case scenario. But just because someone has if it's a very, very poor combine thing, that might show something. But just because they don't necessarily reach your combine expectations, you never know what they can do when they get on a team. Will that and should that affect their draft placement? I'd say yes.
Yeah, some.
But when someone gets on a team, when someone is on the football field, after they get there, the combine doesn't matter anymore. And so, like you're saying, you never know. Does it look good for Ollie Gordon right now? No. But when he gets on the field, there's no telling. And so, yeah, but I definitely would think NFL. I imagine he'll get drafted.
Yeah.
But hopefully, when he gets on the field, he's going to show, I should be here.
Yeah. He'll be one of the most interesting preseason players to watch for sure, because I'm sure he'll get a good bit of playing time this August for whatever team he gets drafted by. But, yeah, that's when we'll see where he gets placed, if he'll be a running back 3, if teams think he can be an RB2, or if he even is like an RB4 right now. But to finish with the combine and just preseason outlook stuff, we'll save some of this talk for my hot takes section that I'm kind of excited about. I'm not a big hot take guy, but you'll see my research hot take in just a minute. Jalen Milroe. This is not my research hot take. This is just fact. Like,
insane.
What is going on? One, like, I don't understand a lot with his draft stock. We'll save some of that for later. But his hands.
Yeah.
Like, how do your hands grow almost a whole inch or 5/8 of an inch in a month? Like, what? How? Do you have any idea? Have you read anything, or what do you think?
I saw that, and I just imagined I had to be understanding it wrong. I had to read it 3 or 4 times because I was like, there's no way, that just doesn't make sense. I'm literally looking it up as we speak because obviously his hands already huge. His hands are already massive, but for them to grow almost an inch in a month, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand how that's possible. That's almost concerning.
Yes, I mean, I'm guessing that he had to learn some stretches to just stretch out his hand more. Why we were laughing is because I asked ChatGPT. I have not been using ChatGPT for homework. I asked it sports questions to get a consensus, a very unprofessional consensus. I just think it's funny to look at what ChatGPT thinks about sports. Ask it a question about Blake Bortles, fun stuff like that. And so I asked it about how Jalen Milroe's hands grew. And it talked about, well, as you grow up, your hands grow.
There we go. Well, I asked, is it possible for your hands to grow 5/8 of an inch in a month? And it says, human hands do not grow in the sense that they would increase in size by 5/8 of an inch in just 1 month, especially in adulthood. So it has to be some form of stretches. I mean, there's even things you can do hanging from a bar for long enough where you can decompress your spine and grow, 1/4 of an inch within an amount of time if you're consistently doing that. So I'm sure there's something you can do to grow your hands. But that is just crazy.
Yeah,
bro is not done growing. That's what my mom keeps telling me. Is just wait till you get to college. All your uncles and all Popsy, your grandpa waited till he was in college to hit his growth spurt. That Jalen Milroe's hands waited till after college. to hit their growth spurt.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, that could even be part of it. I mean, most people stop growing at sometime in college.
Yeah.
But like, what if Jalen Milroe gets 2 inches taller after he's drafted? This makes sense now. His hands were just a sign. But yeah, that was one of the most confusing headlines. Like reading that, it's like, wait, what? What?
Yeah, it just did not make any sense.
No sense at all. I mean, I wonder if his teammates, they're like, that's probably gonna hurt his draft stock at the Senior Bowl. Like his hands are under 9 inches. It's just not. Not many quarterbacks have had success with, measurably small hands. Like Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, but Joe Burrow is the only one who's a superstar like that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wait a second, what? Yeah.
His hands just grew by an inch.
That's gonna be a very strange storyline. I'm sure that at some media day they're gonna ask, okay, what happened?
Yeah, they have to. Somebody's got to be doing real research right now to figure out how that happened. And
definitely.
I want to know if anybody's out there listening who knows this kind of stuff. Please leave a comment.
Put it in the comments, please.
Because
we
need to know.
That's about all I have for the combine. Anything else?
No, I think that's it for me.
Great. Let's talk about free agency. Let's kind of go in the order of, chronological order. We'll talk about releases. We'll talk about new deals on franchise tags. Then we'll talk about trades. So releases, there hasn't been anything insane happening. Some that I didn't necessarily expect just because cap hits and, even Super Bowl teams can't stick together. We saw Darius Slay and James Bradbury both being released. It's good to get a ring. It's sad that you can't stick with that team forever. I think of Nick Foles even. It's Nick Foles wins a ring as a backup quarterback, and then they're like, well, we're cutting you. It's just business. It's how it goes sometimes. One that did surprise me a lot more seeing the headline was Joey Bosa.
I'm looking at that now.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a $25 million cap hit, I think, that they're saving. And he's been injured maybe more often than not in recent years. But he is still a star player. He may not be the player that his brother is, but he's going to be a big free agent pickup for whoever gets him.
And I would have thought, I'm not as knowledgeable on how all of these things work, but I would have thought that Joey Bosa is somebody that you could work some kind of trade out of.
Mm-hmm.
With his, is he Nick Bosa? No. Is he a superstar player, an amazing defensive lineman? Absolutely. So I would have think, being the Chargers, you would have been able to work out some kind of trade for that, unless it's simply just money-wise, makes the most sense to drop him. I don't know. That really surprised me.
Yeah. I think it's just he's not worth what they're paying him anymore. Obviously, as you said, great athlete. We've seen what he can do, but injuries are a question.
Yeah.
And so teams don't want to take on that cap money plus an injury-prone player like him.
Very true.
But yeah, I do agree that obviously they're an NFL team. I'm sure they shopped for trades, but if I'm an NFL GM, Joey Bosa is at least an enticing trade prospect.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's going to have a big free agent market, I think. I saw, I think it was with him that several up-and-coming teams are interested in him, like the Commanders and the Falcons.
Be hilarious not hilarious, but it'd be kind of cool if the 49ers.
That would be really cool.
If the 49ers got him. I don't see them doing that because I don't know that that's a big need.
No, they're losing Chase Young. Chase Young hasn't even been on there. Chase Young was on the Saints. That's why he's a free agent.
Yeah. But that would be kind of cool.
That would be really
Having
cool.
a Bosa on both ends. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. That would be amazing. So cool.
It would be like having T.J. Watt and J.J. Watt, but just not as good.
Yeah. Whenever he went to the Cardinals, there was talk of him going to the Steelers because T.J. and Derek Watt were both on the Steelers.
I would have lost my mind if that happened.
That would have been so fun. Another one, we got Evan Ingram. He's had productive last few seasons in Jacksonville, but again, another just cap hit. The Jaguars are a team I have a lot of questions about, and we'll talk about that more in another episode. And so Evan Ingram kind of revived his career in Jacksonville after looking kind of like a bust in New York with the Giants.
Yeah.
But another release that someone's going to pick up Evan Ingram as probably a starting tight end. He's obviously been a good fantasy pick for the past few years, so I'll keep my eye on him. We'll see this fall with whoever he ends up with if we can get him for good fantasy value. Another defensive line, we have Jonathan Allen with the Commanders. Of course, Commanders are a team that are up and coming and, rebuilt very quickly. Get a new coach, new ownership, new quarterback, almost make it to the Super Bowl that first year. And this guy's been a really good player. But again, cap money, it's just hard to realize that you have to change up your team every year. You have to make some changes. Who he ends up with is going to be really interesting because he'll be, a core player on that defensive line wherever he goes.
Absolutely.
And then some of the biggest releases. One hasn't officially happened yet, but Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams.
Yeah.
Just what in the world has been going on with these two?
It's just insane. It's kind of funny, but almost not. I really wanted that story to go well. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams getting back together on the Jets, and it just didn't go anywhere. It went down. If it went anywhere, it went down.
Downhill.
And especially after that, the big reveal on the Pat McAfee show, having Davante Adams come out, and people thought, oh, these guys are leading this team to the playoffs. We got them back together, and even them being on the same team, the connection just wasn't there. The chemistry wasn't there, and so is it surprising? In a way, it's just kind of a shock to hear the words Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers are being dropped. That's just a shocking thing to hear, especially if you go back 4 or 5 years. You'd lose your mind if you heard that.
Yeah, definitely.
But at this point, after seeing how they performed, I don't think it's that crazy.
No. Yeah, where Aaron Rodgers ends up is going to be really interesting. Is he still viewed as a starter? Is he even willing to be a backup? Is he going to be forced into retirement? Davante Adams too, because he had some production with the Raiders and a little bit with the Jets, but we haven't seen the Davante Adams we've had with the Packers in a long time. And so, I think he's not quite to where Stephon Diggs was after he got traded to the Texans. That just kind of older veteran who we know isn't at his prime and who's going to be just a like a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
I think Davante Adams can be at least a 2. He can be a 1 on some teams still. But he's not the Davante Adams we used to know. I think that's how we should look at this. But there's just a lot of storylines around here. Going to be really interesting, especially with Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
Next episode we'll probably have to do a big quarterback prediction, where they're all going to land, and I have some draft prospect analysis that was coming up, but
Aaron Rodgers seems confident that he's going to be starting on another team next year. But that we'll just see.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because I think he's a future Hall of Famer. He's throwing the amount of touchdowns with the almost no interceptions is just insane. Sure, only 1 Super Bowl ring, but Aaron Rodgers deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Davante Adams, I would not be surprised if he gets there either. But it's always good for a Hall of Fame player to end his career on a high note.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of like a Russell Wilson situation, where we know he's not. Russell Wilson is not who he was with the Seahawks, but he can lead a team. He led the Steelers to the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers, he didn't have the numbers even that Russell Wilson had with the Broncos. But I still think that someone can find Aaron Rodgers' potential, his current potential, and he can be a good quarterback again. Not a great quarterback again, but he can be at least a shadow of what he was. That's all. Those are the biggest releases. Obviously, there's been others, but those are the headlines we wanted to cover. New deals. One that wasn't a free agent, but Saquon got rewarded 2 more years on his contract and $20 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what can't this guy? What more could this guy have proven?
Yeah, no, he deserves every penny.
Yeah, I mean, with the Giants, he was a good running back, and then you get him behind a good offensive line. I mean, he's runaway best running back in the league.
Absolutely.
And yeah, deserves that extension 100%.
That's coming off of an off season with so much talk about undervalued running backs.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big statement, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing, this obviously we value this guy with that contract, and he deserves every bit of it that he earned that last season.
Yeah,
played his heart out the whole way.
100%. Another one is Khalil Shakir getting a 4-year extension with the Bills. $60.2 million, $32 million guaranteed. I think it's cool that the Bills have faith in Khalil Shakir because he's been a core role player for a long time. Even seeing glimpses at maybe wide receiver one at times with the Bills kind of having a shaky wide receiver core. But I love that Josh Allen gets to keep this guy as a deep threat. It's everything that Shakir has done in Buffalo, and the fan base that Buffalo even has. I think it's fun that guys who have been in Buffalo get to stay in Buffalo.
Oh, absolutely.
Another one, defensive lineman Osa Odigizua with the Cowboys. 4 years, $80 million, $58 million guaranteed. Lots of free agency questions and trade questions and contract questions with the Cowboys. They get a key defensive player for the past few years. Obviously, Parsons gets all the names or all of the headlines, and everyone knows his name.
Mm-hmm.
DeMarcus Lawrence, people know his name, even though he's older and injury-prone. But Osa Odigizua has been a core player that definitely helps the Cowboys by staying. One question, Brock Purdy, I don't know what we're going to see with his new deal.
Yeah.
Because before the season, it was looking like he would be, a $50 million deal. Now, he just didn't have that great of a season. And so we'll see. People even talked about trading him. I saw someone, that was a voice crack, but it's okay. It happens. I saw someone saying that the Titans would trade their first overall pick for Brock Purdy. I don't know what... I don't know. I don't know about that at all.
Then what do you think, where would, in this hypothetical scenario, where would the 49ers look with that first pick? Would they go quarterback? Or even possibly, I mean, especially with injuries, there's so many spaces that are kind of open / at least shaky right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Brock Purdy is your quarterback right now. So if that trade happens, then that's another space that's just wide open.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, I wouldn't know what to do with that.
No,
I don't even know what to do with that hypothetical situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one that obviously it's a hypothetical. I don't see it happening, but just the fact that one season can change you from being, a record-breaking quarterback, and the fact that you're getting paid league minimum and then being one of the highest-paid players in the league, to does San Francisco even want him after making it to Super Bowl 2 seasons ago?
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's 2 seasons ago. Like, we would just say last season, but now that last season's over, it's 2 seasons ago.
2 seasons ago. That's very weird. But that would mean that the Titans would be, because the Titans would go quarterback with their first pick.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess
we'll see.
Maybe not. Oh my goodness, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, it's just weird to think about. Anyway, we can move on.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk more about that in my hot take section later too,
good,
about just the first pick. What are the Titans going to do? I have my opinion. we'll talk about it later.
Good.
The last contract extension before we talk about franchise tags, which will take like a minute, and then trades. Matthew Stafford, 2 more years with the Rams, which I am very happy about. Matthew Stafford, when the trade talks were coming out, it was really confusing to me because sure, some teams like the Giants could really benefit from a veteran, and they have players like Malik Neighbors, but I think Matthew Stafford and the Rams is still the perfect fit. Matthew Stafford, he's a veteran quarterback who still can play at a really high level, and the Rams have young receivers, great defense, up-and-coming defense, and I think that that's just the perfect pairing. They're not someone you want to throw a developing quarterback into because they are still contenders where they are right now. And so Matthew Stafford is just the perfect fit for the Rams right now.
Absolutely.
And I think 2 years is the perfect time frame for this because that sets him up for probably retirement after that.
Yeah.
But it also gives him the opportunity to bring another guy to learn. Maybe even going Jackson Dart in the second round if he's there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other guys in this draft, or even if his free agency market isn't what we think it's going to be, even Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, learning under McVay for 2 years, we saw what he was able to do in Minnesota. And imagine him sitting for 2 more years and then taking over for the Rams. Just a couple ideas of what the Rams could do with this deal. Obviously, hasn't been finalized yet with the details on how much he'll get paid and everything. But that was a deal that I was very happy to see. I think it fits very well.
Absolutely.
Franchise tags, T. Higgins, again. Obviously, like you said last episode, Joe Burrow being willing to restructure his contract to keep key guys on the Bengals obviously speaks huge volumes. And I would love to see a long-term deal get worked out for T. Higgins. But if it doesn't happen, he's at least there for a year.
Yep.
And then Trey Smith, the guard. Sorry.
No. With that, though, is what they did, and this, of course, there's more that went into that. So they tagged T. Higgins, but simply, at least from what I saw, simply from cap space reasons, they had to drop one of their veteran defensive linemen, Sheldon Rankins.
Yes.
And so last season, Joe Burrow and your offense put up points.
So many points.
So many points.
So many yards.
So many yards. I mean, they were outstanding. One of the better offenses in the league.
I mean, maybe the best, stat-wise.
Yeah. Your defense gave up your games.
Maybe the worst, stat-wise.
And so your first off-season move, is franchise tagging T. Higgins a good opportunity, the right decision? Yes. Is possibly making your defense worse a good decision looking forward? No.
No, never
And
good.
Even, of course, this, before I would make any 100% sure statement, I'd want to look at more things. But what this is saying is Sheldon Rankins is being dropped to make room for younger, cheaper players. That doesn't necessarily sound like a movement in confidence of, next year we're trying to get better. We're trying to improve this defense.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was an interesting move from them, looking at last season and being like, our offense was spectacular, our defense was terrible. Let's arguably make our defense worse. I just that gave me pause. I'll say that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very interesting situation. As you said, T. Higgins being franchise tagged, the NFL fans all want him to stay with the team. Just keeping him with this amazing, the best offense in the league right now. But they need to fix their defense. And there's not enough money to do everything they want. Obviously, the salary cap's gone up some this year, a good bit. But still not enough to keep all your star players.
No.
And another big piece of this is they earlier today granted Trey Hendrickson the ability to seek a trade. And so with that, you could lose another star player, but you get picks for it and you get cap space.
True.
So more role players, younger players, cheaper players, but you don't have that veteran, you don't have that superstar on your defense to lead your defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you said, doesn't necessarily look great for next year, which is strange that it's a franchise tag. I think they're still wanting to work out a long-term deal if they are kind of rebuilding their defense. Because if you just keep T. Higgins for 1 year and wait on your defense till next year, it doesn't work. It kind of cancels out.
Yeah.
That's, interesting situation to watch for sure with the Bengals. I mean, you have maybe the best wide receiver in the league, maybe the best quarterback in the league, and likely, a bottom 5 defense in the league at best.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting. I hope the Bengals do. I hope they figure something out next season.
They're a fun team to watch.
Absolutely. Before
coming on air, just to get ourselves in the mood, Baden and I watched LSU's 2020 hype video.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire too. He was a dog in college. And just thinking the fact that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase got to go to LSU together, just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Did I say get to go to LSU together?
Yes.
They got to go to LSU and the Bengals
and
together.
the Bengals. Okay, I was about to fill in. I was about to finish, come around and finish that thought
Thank
for
you.
you. I wasn't sure where you're.
It's Friday, guys.
Yeah.
One other franchise tag, Trey Smith, guard for the Chiefs. As you saw in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs need O-line help.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy they already had, but they're keeping him.
Good.
That's good.
They did trade away Joe Thuney.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting, just after the Super Bowl. But then again, if it didn't work, maybe trying something different makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's understandable.
Yeah. Joe Thuney, that was definitely an interesting trade. The Bears also need O-line help.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's
it's a great trade for the Bears.
Definitely. Let's talk about the trades. Another Bears offensive lineman trade, Jonah Jackson for a 6th-round pick. More much-needed O-line help. And the Bears, they are the Bears. The Rams are doing pretty good on offensive line.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some interior questions, as in, guard and center interior, not a different kind of interior.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, I like that the Bears are getting O-line help, that Ben Johnson is starting out on this note. He's not just going to, let's get more weapons. Let's just make our team the Lions in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But he's starting with the fundamentals. Of course, this isn't all Ben Johnson, but I'll give him some credit for it.
Give credit where credit's due. All right, we'll give him that.
Yeah, a couple wide receiver trades. The first big trade of this offseason, Deebo Samuel to the Commanders for a 5th-round pick. What do you think about that?
I think trading him based off of last season. Really the definitely last season. The season before, he was on and off. He was inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Is understandable. For a 5th-round pick, really, it seems like it's somewhat undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
Deebo Samuel was an amazing number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And last season, you have to take into consideration all the injuries you had.
Yeah.
And yes, part of that is Deebo Samuel is he becoming injury prone? Yes. So that diminishes the value there. But I wasn't surprised that he got traded. I think a move to the Commanders is great. I think that's really good for the Commanders. But for a 5th-round pick, that seemed like almost a steal for the Commanders, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think, again, the reason for a 5th is that he only has 1 more year on his deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we saw, a few years ago, the Bears trading for Sweat for a 2nd-round pick with 1 year left on his deal. but he's become a core player for them.
Yeah.
And so the pick that you get with 1 year left in your deal is, it does vary, but I think that's a big reason why it is a fifth.
For sure.
And yeah, as you said, he's not in his prime, but I don't think that can let us look at him like a bust. That can't give us a reason for us to see him as someone who can't give any value. We look at Stephon Diggs. Look at DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Helping lead the Chiefs to another Super Bowl. And the Commanders, I think, are a perfect fit for him.
Absolutely.
Because you have good wide receivers. You have Terry McLaurin. You have some role players like Olamide Zaccheaus and even Luke McCaffrey. But Debo adds just another level to the Commanders that can take him back to NFC Championship this year. Add those jet sweeps, add those end arounds, different dynamic in the backfield with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson, both having a little bit of question marks. I think this is a perfect fit. The Commanders are just turning a corner. They are a powerhouse now.
Absolutely.
Of course, we can't know for sure this next season, but for the next few years, the Commanders are going to be running the table in the NFC.
Without a doubt.
Another wide receiver trade, Christian Kirk to your Texans for a 2026 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
I think last season, before the season, the Texans' wide receiver core was, I think, arguably the deepest in the NFL. By week, what would you say, 10? We had Stephon Diggs injured. We had Nico Collins. He was injured, came back, kind of struggled back and forth. Of course, Tank Dell gets injured. He's out. That wide receiver core diminished.
Very
big
quickly.
Time, very quickly. And so adding Christian Kirk, who is a good receiver.
Yeah.
Adding that to the chart, adding him into the mix, letting him work through the offseason, see where he lines up, and it's not like you're losing that much stock. A 7th round from 2026, I think that's a completely fair trade, and honestly, I'm happy with that. Because Tank Dell, I don't know, I'm not sure when he'll be back, but I think it's going to take a little bit for him to get back to his full potential. Nico Collins is at times one of the best receivers in the NFL. At least, I'd say sometimes at his best, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. And sometimes he's just very inconsistent. He's not there every game. I would say, you have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. They're at the top every game they play. Nico Collins is inconsistent with that. And then Stephon Diggs, like we've talked a little bit, he is the veteran that he's a good number 3. And he's also injury prone. So you don't know, is he going to be back this year at full health? And so adding this receiver that is good and you're not really losing much, I think that's completely fair. I think that's a good move from the Texans.
Yeah.
You're going to have to look at your receiver core now and decide who can we lose, who can we afford to drop, lose, because, you can't, if you have 6 or 7 good receivers, you have 3 or 4 on the field at the same time, and then maybe 1 or 2 on the bench when they're not on the field,
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what they do with their receiving core, but I think Christian Kirk, I think that's a good move.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, Tank Dell, he may not even play this next season.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great move for a 7th-round pick. Great value.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. And then the last trade I want to talk about, this was earlier today. Geno Smith to the Raiders for a 3rd-round pick. I'm interested to see how this affects the NFL draft with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
What did the Seahawks do is one question. I think a lot of people are saying this just makes some prime destination for Sam Darnold. they have some weapons, especially if they don't trade DK. Obviously, they're shopping DK, letting him look for trades. And interestingly enough, I just saw a headline that originally the Seahawks approached the Raiders offering Geno Smith and DK Metcalf for Max Crosby.
Really?
So the Raiders said, nope, we're not trading Max Crosby, but they still
completely understandable.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we missed that in extension. He's now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So that was a big headline to miss. But, I mean, if anyone deserves it, Max Crosby's up there.
Absolutely.
Just when you talk about, absolute dogs in the NFL, Max Crosby, I think, is probably number one.
Absolutely.
I don't know how that guy does what he does.
Just pure rage.
Yeah.
And his the mic'd ups with him, just the trash talk. Mm-hmm. He just loves the game, I think. He just absolutely loves playing football.
Yeah, keeping him off the field is impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, Geno Smith for a 3rd round pick. And it's a very interesting move because as I said, it creates a space in the Seahawks, and I wonder what void it fills with the Raiders. Because he's 34. He's not their quarterback of the future. No. Right now the Raiders aren't really in a spot to have their quarterback of the future dominating. Obviously, they have Brock Bowers. That's about it right now. And Max Crosby. Of course. But on the offense, it's not much besides Brock Bowers. So, before this, I was saying if Shedeur goes there at 6 in the draft, I'm not really excited for that. I'm not looking forward to seeing what Shedeur does there because they don't have much weapons. Geno Smith, it makes them at least good enough for this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they roll with that this year and then 2026 draft a quarterback. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this trade.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially because they're in a rebuild season right now. And so this move, it definitely brings some questions for the draft because now with this quarterback, what are they going to do with their draft pick? Do they go a younger quarterback to learn under Geno Smith? Mm-hmm. Do they fill a different spot on their offense that is open, which is pretty much all of them except for tight end?
Yeah, pretty much.
Where do they go here? So not only does it open up a spot for the Seahawks, but it opens up a question mark. Okay, now that you have a quarterback that can at least last you this year, do you wait to get your franchise quarterback next year, maybe the next year, and go with a different position for this draft? Where do you go from here? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It is interesting, and so I'm sure in a few episodes we'll make our mock drafts, and we'll do some research, see where we put these guys. But I don't know that. I saw that on the way coming here to record this, and I thought it was very interesting. That was one of the first things I said to Hank when we got in here, when we started talking about content. I was like, "Did you see that Geno Smith got traded to the Raiders
today?"
It was very interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
The Seahawks, is Drew Lock, who's their number 2?
Drew Lock was their number 2. Sam Howell is their
Sam
2
Howell,
now,
okay. Yeah,
Drew Lock was on the Giants last
year. So you're definitely looking for You're looking for somebody to fill that position.
Yeah, and I think Sam Howell is another interesting piece that, before another kind of like Ollie Gordon. The year before he got drafted, he was surefire 1st-round pick. People were even talking about Sam Howell going 1st overall. And then he just didn't have a great next season, and his draft stock reflected that.
Yeah.
He's drafted under Bailey Zappi. He was drafted in the 5th round. And, of course, he didn't look great in the Commanders' offense that was the old Commanders' offense. Mm-hmm. Not a fun place to be. No. But threw a lot of interceptions, got sacked a lot of times. And so I think he's a player, ironically, like Geno Smith, who can someday find a home and find himself a starting spot. But I just don't know if he's there yet. I don't know if he's developed enough yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, that definitely creates a lot of question marks. I'll have to make another mock draft with the Seahawks maybe taking a quarterback or with the Raiders not taking a quarterback.
Yeah, have to switch it up a little bit. This throws a wrench in things.
Yeah, interesting one, for sure. Those are the main things with free agency. I have a couple hot takes I want to talk about. Predictions, researched hot takes, not, whatever Fox Sports like to do, creating rage bait.
Yeah, just for the fun of it.
I think Fox Sports just keeps hyping up Dak Prescott just for rage bait. There was some Instagram reel I saw where someone was comparing Jalen Hurts to other NFL quarterbacks. And he put Dak Prescott above Jalen Hurts. I don't know what happened. Like, what? I mean, sure, a few years ago, Dak Prescott led the league in touchdown passes. That was a few years ago. Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott's not going to run like Jalen Hurts.
No.
Maybe his decision-making is a little better. I don't even know if it's that much better than Jalen Hurts' decision-making. And then they made an article, biggest players in Texas, and put Dak Prescott at number 1, above Wemby. Like, this is, all sports. And sure, like, the Cowboys quarterback position, but, like, this guy's the face of the NBA.
Yeah.
One of the faces of the NBA. And you put Dak Prescott above him. Like, I think they just want rage bait.
No, I think so. Hey, everything's for clicks. When you get to that level, it's all for clicks. So that's honestly a reasonable thing to say. Is just they're just trying to get people to click, get people to share this, and be like, can you believe this?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah. But here we say what we believe.
Absolutely.
And I want to start with we're talking about the NBA. I was thinking about the Luka trade because that's just been circulating in my mind still, in my heart. Mm-hmm. Anthony Davis now probably out for the season. Like, just
the Mavs.
Why?
Falling apart.
Kyrie tearing his ACL. I think a really good comparison for Luka in the NBA is Josh Allen in the NFL. There's some concern about, like, fundamentals. Josh Allen this season cleaned a lot up. But turnovers and just not conventional play style a lot of times. And then Luka, just some concerns about weight and injury. With Josh Allen, there isn't really the injury concern, but his fundamental concern is, concern with his fundamentals is similar enough to Luka's concerns. But he's a superstar who kind of carries his team. Josh Allen, won MVP for very good reason this year. Luka was third in MVP voting recently for very good reason. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a similar comparison. Yeah, Josh Allen.
I think that's
to
fair.
Luka.
I think that's very fair.
So that's not necessarily a hot take. That's just something that was in my mind, and I
throw that out there.
Wrote it down on this list. Mm-hmm. So, but let's talk about hot takes. I want to start. As long as you don't mind going a little long, Baden.
I do not mind at all.
Hey, it's a Friday evening.
Oh, yeah.
Just chill. It's the weekend.
What else am I going to be doing? Homework?
Yeah. Who does homework?
Not
Just
me.
kidding.
I do homework. I do.
Next week's midterm week. So, yep.
Thanks
Fun
for
stuff.
reminding me, Hank.
Hey, forget about it. We're talking about Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Because I think long-term, Jackson Dart will be the best quarterback in that class. Baden, if you disagree, I want to hear it because I want to talk about it. And I just looking at this class in this draft as a whole, long-term, he has the best shot. He won't be relied on. Likely, he will not be relied on to be a day one starter. Shadur, maybe we drafted at a reach to be a day one starter. Does not start him on a good level. He'll probably go to a better team than someone like Cam Ward. Cam Ward going to Cleveland, just quarterbacks don't succeed there. At least not in the past 20 years, 25 years. Going to the Titans, still not a great look. Jackson Dart will probably be drafted by a team who lets him develop, like I talked about with the Rams. The Rams would be a perfect situation. You get to learn under Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. And then you get put into this offense with Puka Nacua to be a great quarterback. And he has athleticism that a lot of people don't realize. We've seen his passing stats, and some of it's inconsistent, of course. And his deep throws aren't what we want to see from, a first overall pick. And I'm not saying he'll be there, but his running stats are a lot better than people realize. So I think he'll go in the second round, maybe late first round. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there. I don't think he'll be a top 10 pick, just because I don't know if any of these quarterbacks really deserve the grades that they've been getting. Yeah. As in like Shedeur and Cam Ward, just people in the top 10 need quarterbacks, and they're a valuable position. Yeah. But long term, maybe not next year, maybe not 2 years from now, but 5 to 10 years from now, we'll look back and say Jackson Dart was the best quarterback in this class. That's my hot take. Baden, I saw your face. I heard your reaction. What do you think?
That definitely surprised me. I would say I'm just going to throw something out there.
Please.
And say that I think the only way that Jackson Dart ends up being better than Cam Ward is because of team placement. Mm-hmm. I don't see it happening just based off athleticism and consistency. I don't see it being a possibility under any other circumstance than Cam Ward isn't able to develop with the team he's given.
Yeah.
I think apart from that, which is why I can understand and I guess get behind Jackson Dart being the best in a few years from this draft class. If, depending on the team he goes to, he has time to learn under somebody and develop. But barring that, I don't see him being better than Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. Just purely based off of athleticism and just consistency, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you there. Mm-hmm. Cam Ward is an insane athlete, and his pocket presence is so fun to watch, just standing there. Him and Ashton Genty kind of have the same vibe with that. Uh-huh. But yeah, as you said, one of my big reasonings in this is team placement.
Yeah.
It's harder to know where Jackson Dart will go.
But he's almost definitely going to go to a better team than Cam.
Likely, because it's hard being put in a situation to be the next franchise quarterback. Mm-hmm. We saw Caleb Williams was put there and just didn't perform all that well.
But Jaden Daniels also put there.
See, but that's why I think having a veteran on the team is really important. Yeah. Drake May had Jacoby Brissett. Mm-hmm. Jaden Daniels had Marcus Mariota.
Very true.
Those are because they're not pressured to start before they're ready. Mm-hmm. Even like Bryce Young. Bryce Young has Andy Dalton. Yeah. And even like we've seen Bryce Young need help even this past year. And it helped him a lot to have that development, to be able to sit on the bench and learn from even Andy Dalton, who was never a superstar, who right now may not even be like a best of the best backup. But
he's been in the league.
He's been in the league. He knows his stuff. And those kind of veterans are a lot of times what helps make the quarterback. Even Patrick Mahomes. Alex Smith is not the kind of quarterback that you're like, oh, yes, this is the guy who needs to teach Patrick Mahomes. But a year on the bench, I think, obviously Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. But a year on the bench, I'm sure benefited him a lot. And he advocates for it. Yeah. So absolutely. I think long-term, Jackson Dart, best quarterback in this class. So if you don't agree, please say in the comments your take and why. I want to hear all of the arguments, not just Cam Ward and Shedeur. If you think Jalen Milroe, I read someone with that earlier, and I don't know. We talked about Jalen Milroe. Yeah. If you think Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Kyle McCord, one of those guys, Dylan Gabriel, I want to hear it. I want to hear your arguments, your hot takes. I want to hear them too. So maybe I'll make a poll. Maybe I'll, just respond to some comments. Mm-hmm. But
maybe we'll just sit and laugh at all y'all's hot takes.
Exactly. I think the last time I had a hot take like this, best quarterback in the draft, was the I think it was the 2021 NFL draft. I think that's the one it was. My hot take was that Justin Fields would be the best quarterback in the class, and that Mac Jones would be the worst of like the top five. Because that was
Who are our other three?
that was the draft that Trevor Lawrence was first overall, and so that was Trevor Lawrence has been doing good, but he's not the superstar that we expected him with. Zach Wilson, kind of a bust. Trey Lance, even more of a bust. Justin Fields went 11 to the Bears, and obviously the Bears didn't really work out, but I think that he has a good chance to find a home and be a star, even surpassing Trevor Lawrence.
Pretty good take.
And then Mac Jones, maybe not as much of a bust as Zach Wilson and Trey Lance yet, but still not necessarily looking great for Mac Jones.
No.
So at first, that did not look good. But now that hot take looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I won't talk about I thought Malik Willis deserved to be drafted pretty highly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he looks good in the Packers. So, that quarterback class is really interesting in the last time that I had a hot take like that. So, just wanted to look back.
That bodes well for you.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I got one more hot take I want to talk about, and then we can just see if there are any other things we want to talk about before going off air today. It's maybe the new longest episode, but hey, it deserves it. Lots of fun stuff going on. We talked about the first overall pick and trades and just the Cam Ward situation.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans, with the first overall pick, should trade down. They're not in a spot to draft a franchise quarterback, as we talked about. They're not going to be contenders this year. And so I don't think you throw a quarterback in there, someone like Cam Ward. So I think bring in a veteran. Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, I think is a good fit. Even Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think you 100% give up on Levis yet. I think this year, treat him as a backup, and maybe he can learn. Because he's an athlete. Sure, he's a meme, but I think if he learns fundamentals, he can be at least a bridge quarterback.
Yeah.
So the trade down to get more picks. The Giants I've seen as takers to get number one because they need a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Or they can trade way down. Maybe even trading down to someone like the Seahawks. Think about how much that would take. Seahawks moving up to number one. That's a lot of picks to get up there with the Seahawks being around pick 20.
Yeah.
But Seahawks get their pick on quarterback this draft, getting their quarterback of the future, which is a much better spot than the Titans. And the Titans get more picks, more players, and just help rebuild more this season.
Mm-hmm.
And then go into 2026 as a good destination for a quarterback. And if there aren't any takers, draft a piece to build around. Don't force a quarterback to be a hero for a team that isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter, even though he has a broken foot, is going to be a great player, I think, in the NFL. So he's worth it. He's worth the first overall pick. I don't know if there's a ton of other players that are. Mason Graham, maybe. Maybe you go O-line here. Mm-hmm. There aren't any superstar O-line picks this season like there have been. But that's my take. Trade down Tennessee Titans, and that'll be the best thing for y'all to do. That's what I got with the hot takes.
Yeah. I don't think that's that hot of a take.
It's
I
not.
think that's reasonable.
See?
Not as hot as a take as your first one.
No.
I think that's reasonable for the situation that they're in.
Good. Yeah. I don't want to say anything too crazy because if I say it, I want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ESPN and Fox Sports and all of those guys a lot of times don't believe what they're saying. They're just looking at the teleprompter and their notes and being like, all right, time to be an actor.
Yeah. And that's why y'all watch us.
Exactly. Because we believe what we say here.
Mm-hmm.
Like before we go on air, every time, I'm like, help us not say anything too controversial.
Yeah.
Because
what we know to be true.
Yeah, what we know to be true and what won't get us in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. Nothing too crazy, but remember us when Jackson Dart becomes the best quarterback in this class and when the Titans trade down and then 2026 is their year for a quarterback.
Yeah. Also remember us if he doesn't become the best, and then you can come back and laugh at Hank.
Please do. You heard me talk about Tyjae Spears.
Yep,
So-
I was about to say. I was about to say it's a big. We have a big switch up on the Titans from last offseason to this offseason.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Reasonable.
Yeah, much more reasonable looking at the Titans now. Even though I have a Derrick Henry Oilers jersey in my closet. I'm wearing the old Stephon Diggs Vikings jersey right now, which doubles as a Sam Darnold jersey.
Exactly.
Who we've talked about.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think it's gonna be a very interesting offseason. I think
Definitely.
a lot of things are gonna shift, and I think it'll be really interesting. I think there's gonna be some. I think there's going to be some surprises.
100%. Yeah, definitely some surprises. I'm really excited for the draft. As I've said, draft is my favorite time. Free agency is so fun. Just seeing all the moving pieces, seeing who's coming up, who's going down, who's rebuilding, who is rebuilt. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think I'm all good.
All good?
I'm
Well, yeah,
excited.
keep us posted on when the Tyreek Hill and Noah Lyles race happens.
Oh, I will. Unless Noah Lyles loses, then I just will.
Yeah.
I will not bring it up.
Yeah. Well, I've thought about,
No, I'll bring it up.
for fun, making a quarterback ranking for our podcast, put it on our Instagram if we can get someone to design good graphics for it, seeing just ranking the top 50 quarterbacks in the NFL, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Starters, backups, anything like that. So we'll see. Maybe you'll see that dropping sometime soon, but maybe not. But either way, thanks for listening to the Nice Catch podcast. If you love football, continue to tune in each episode from the off season all the way through the playoffs. This is the Nice Catch podcast.